The train you almost missed. Learn English by feeling it. You don't learn English by memorizing. You learn it by feeling. In this 35-minute immersive journey, you won't find subtitles, grammar rules, or textbook dialogues. You'll find yourself at a train station between two lives, the one where English is a struggle and the one where it finally makes sense. This experience trains your ears to understand English the way natives speak it, fast, real, and alive. Follow the story. Feel the tension. Let English hit your heart before it hits your head. You almost missed this train, but now you're on board. And once it starts moving, your fluency won't stop. The station between two lives. Imagine this. You're standing on a platform. The wind is sharp, brushing against your neck, the air. Around you, people speak English, but not the English you studied. Their words are alive. They rise and fall like music. Some you understand. Others, they slip past you like trains that never stopped. There's no one to guide you, no subtitles. Just the ambient sound of voices, announcements, footsteps, and decisions. The screen of your phone is cracked. Your ticket is digital, but your battery is low. Well, they speak English. Real English. You start to realize something. You don't need to understand every word. You need to feel the rhythm, the flow. You need to let the language pass through you, not get stuck in your head. The loudspeaker echoes overhead. Gate change, track 3. Final call. Your heart skips. You see the train doors still open in the distance, and something inside says run. Eggs. What if I say it wrong? What if I don't understand? What if they speak too fast? You pause. The train is still there. But here's the thing. That train, it's not just about travel. It's about transition. It's about becoming someone else. Someone who no longer memorizes English, but lives it. You step inside. The doors close behind you. No turning back now. You sit. Breathe. Look around. No one is teaching you English here. Arguing softly on a call. You start to notice the rhythm, the way people pause, emphasize, skip words, fill space with sound. This is not a classroom. This is the language as it lives and breathes. And now, for the first time, you're not watching from outside. You're inside the language, inside the story, inside the train, and the journey has just begun. The voice on the bench. The train slows down after 2 stops. You step off for a break. Across from you, an older man sits with a notebook on his lap. He's humming a song in English, off-key but with feeling. The kind of sound that makes you look twice, not because it's perfect, but because it's human. He looks at you, nods. Then, without asking, he begins to speak. Not loud, not slow, just real. You don't understand every word, but you understand him. You hear the weight in his voice when he says, "Back then." The soft laugh after, "But I did it anyway." He's telling a story about a place he once visited, about missing his own train, not a physical one, but a metaphorical one. A chance, a leap, a decision he was too afraid to take until fear felt heavier than the risk. And in that moment, something happens. You're not translating anymore. You're not thinking in your language, then flipping it into his. You're just listening, breathing, reacting. Frown when his voice drops. You're not understanding every word, you're understanding him. This is what your teacher never told you. Fluency is not about perfection, it's about connection. The way he says, "You know what I mean," isn't a test. It's a bridge, a hand reaching out, an invitation. You accept it. Because that voice, it's familiar. It sounds like what you've been trying to find in every course, every textbook, every YouTube tutorial. This cold bench in a real voice in a shared silence between 2 strangers who don't speak the same first language, but speak the same feeling. You're not learning English right now. You're living it. And the bench? It's not just a place to rest. It's the place where the old version of you sits next to the version who finally hears the language. And that version, it's starting to wake up. The sound of a decision. You're standing again. The train is back, but something inside you has changed. You glance back at the bench. The old man is gone. Only the echo of his voice remains in your memory. Not in the form of grammar, but in rhythm, tone, melody. You can almost hear it replaying in your mind, not as translation, but as emotion. The train doors open, you step forward, then pause. You start thinking again. Should I get back on? What if I lose what I just learned out here with him? What if the noise of the train, the movement, the new people, what if it all pulls me back into confusion? A family rushes past you. A child laughs in English. "We're gonna miss it, Dad." The phrase is simple. The rhythm, real. You heard it 1,000 times in movies, but this time, it lands differently. Not as a line, as a truth. You step onto the train. The door closes behind you with a soft hiss. For a moment, you're not sure if it was the right choice, but choices rarely come with confirmation. They come with consequences. The train starts to move, and every sound becomes more intense. A phone vibrates. A voice answers. You hear a sentence. Fast, natural, unfinished. Yet your brain doesn't freeze this time. You catch a feeling, a tone. You understand not through translation, but through energy. Someone coughs. There? You nod, even though he wasn't speaking to you. Because you understand. Because you belong. And that moment, that click, it's not just linguistic, it's emotional. You sit by the window, watching the world pass. You hear fragments of lives all in English, but none of them feel foreign anymore. You remember how you once paused every video to read subtitles, how you rewound dialogues to catch what was said. And now, you're not decoding. You're flowing. You're not trying to remember what that phrase means. You're just reacting to it, trusting your instinct. Like music or a familiar smell, it triggers understanding without effort. You pull out a notebook, not to write vocabulary, but to write feelings, moments, sounds. Because this isn't a test anymore. It's a story. And you're not the observer. You're the main character. The train moves forward. No Wi-Fi. The train stops in a quiet town. Not a tourist spot. Not a place on your itinerary. Just a name you can't quite pronounce, written in English but sounding unfamiliar on your tongue. You step off. The streets are narrow, cobbled. The air is cooler here, slower. And that's when you see it. A small cafe, tucked between two closed bookshops. A chalkboard out front says, "No Wi-Fi. Talk to each other." You hesitate, then walk in. The woman at the counter looks up. She greets you in English. Her accent is gentle, but fast. Native. You freeze, not in fear, but in focus. She asks, "What can I get you?" You hear every word, but you don't translate. You respond. Not perfectly, not elegantly, but clearly. "I'll have a tea, please." She smiles. "Any preference?" You pause. Your mind reaches for vocabulary. Earl Grey, chamomile, green. You say, "Any kind is good. Warm, not too strong." And just like that, a conversation happened. Without effort, without a script. You sit at a table near the window. Two people next to you are speaking softly. You can't hear everything, but you don't panic. You listen to the rhythm, the emotion, the rise and fall. You start to feel when a question is asked, when a joke is told, when something serious is said. You write down nothing. You just listen. A man walks in and speaks on his phone. His sentences are short, broken. "I'm here. Got in late. Train was packed. No Wi-Fi. But I'm okay." You don't need subtitles. You just understand. And the cafe? It becomes something else. Not just a place to sit, but a classroom made of wood and whispers, of imperfect grammar and perfect meaning. You finish your tea. The woman at the counter says, "Take care, all right?" And you say, "You too." You step outside, no flashcards, no apps, just memory, sound, presence. Learn isn't by forcing the language in, it's by stepping into moments where the language is already alive and letting it come to you. The voice message you didn't expect. You're back on the train. The seat feels warmer now, not because of the sun, but because you feel less like a passenger and more like a traveler. Less like someone visiting the language and more like someone who's starting to belong in it. Just you and the rhythm of the wheels. But now, you turn it back on. Notifications pour in, apps, reminders, noise, until you see one that makes you pause. A voice message from someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. The name appears. You hesitate. Then press play. It starts in English. And it's not a textbook English. Not a slow, clear, polished voice. It's full of emotion, pauses, breath. Real. Asking where you are, how you're doing, if you're still chasing that dream you talked about, if you found the words yet, if the words have finally started to feel like yours. They don't say your name at the beginning, but somehow it feels like every sentence is about you. The message is just 1 minute long, but it lingers, because this time, you don't need to replay it 5 times to understand. You got it on the first listen. The sadness behind, I hope you're okay. The hope behind, I think about that day a lot. The vulnerability behind, maybe one day we'll speak the same language again. You feel your chest tighten, not from fear, from recognition. That message didn't test your English. It proved it. You reply, not with a script, not with a pre-written phrase. You speak, slow, honest, a little broken, but real. You don't worry about mistakes. You think about the train, the bench, someone who's finally stopped translating their heart before sharing it. And when you hit send, it's quiet again. But it's not empty. It's full. Because that moment, that voice, that decision to answer, that natural English flowing from your mouth without effort, is the moment fluency becomes something deeper. It becomes part of your identity. And the person on the other side, they'll hear it. Not just in your words, but in your voice. You became someone who lives it. The moment you forgot it was English. You wake up. The train is still moving, but the light has changed. Late afternoon. Shadows stretch across the seats. Everything is quieter, softer. You realize you fell asleep, but something strange happened. You had a dream, and it was in English. Not textbook English, not even fluent English, but it was yours. Feelings, echoing real conversations. In the dream, you weren't trying. You were just being. You spoke. You understood. You reacted, all without thinking. And now, sitting there, half awake, you wonder, how long have I been listening like this? You look outside. A child runs beside the tracks, chasing a dog. The sound of laughter slips through the window. You don't translate the moment. You just feel it. The conductor makes an announcement. Collect your bag and move with everyone else. Naturally, you know what's happening. You've heard this rhythm before. It's familiar now. And then it hits you. Somewhere along the way, you stopped thinking about learning English. You just started living in it. You're no longer counting the words, the grammar, the accents. You're not checking if you got it right. You're inside the language now. When you're expressing something real, deep, urgent, you're starting to feel that English is now that space too. You go to a local shop, ask for something, understand the reply, make a joke, laugh. The moment ends. The cashier smiles. You leave. And it's only when you sit down outside that you realize that entire interaction happened in English, and you forgot it was. No mental subtitles, no inner monologue, no panic, just flow. Is fluency. It's not perfect pronunciation. It's not advanced vocabulary. It's when you forget the language and remember only the meaning. That's when you know. You didn't miss the train. You became it. The final stop is not the end. The train slows. The city emerges in the distance, golden in the light of a falling sun. People gather their things. Backpacks close. Windows fog with breath and anticipation. This is the final stop. The end of the line. Your eyes aren't scanning for words to translate. Your ears aren't chasing fragments of sentences, afraid they'll disappear before you catch them. Your body isn't tense. Your breath is calm. Because somewhere between the bench, the cafe, the voice message, the dream, you stopped chasing fluency and started feeling it. You didn't memorize English, you experienced it. Every pause, every real voice, every moment that wasn't planned. Hold a mirror, a silent question. Will you keep going? Because fluency doesn't live in train rides or YouTube videos or classrooms, it lives in you. When you decide that English is not something outside you, but something you've already started to carry inside. The doors open, a breeze rushes in, you step out. The world is louder now, clearer, more vivid, because the language no longer creates distance, it creates connection. Cafes into classrooms, mistakes into bridges. You hear a voice behind you, asking for directions. You respond, not because you practiced that exact phrase, but because you understand what's needed. You help, you connect, you smile. And as you walk into the pulse of the city, you know, this isn't the end. This is just your beginning. Because you didn't learn English by memorizing it. You learned it by feeling it, by riding the train you almost missed. By becoming someone who no longer waits for fluency to arrive, but someone who lives it. One moment, one word, one feeling at a time. The mistake that made you fluent. You're walking through a crowded street market. Sounds overlap. Car horns, music from a nearby bar, vendors calling out prices in fast English, some slurred, some sharp. It's chaotic, beautifully alive. You're not looking for anything. You're just there. Then it happens. You reach for English, but what comes out is wrong. The verb is off. You jumble the words. The vendor squints, confused. For a second, the world freezes. This is the moment you always feared. Speaking bad English, in public, getting it wrong. But then, you don't panic. You smile. You try again. Slower. With gestures. With presence. Not with perfect grammar, but with intention. And this time, the vendor gets it. He laughs. You finish the purchase. Say thank you. And as you walk away, something clicks. That mistake? It didn't break you. It freed you. Because that's what fluency really is. The courage to continue speaking even when it's not perfect. To move through the mistake, not around it. The mistake didn't expose your weakness. It proved your strength. From that moment on, your conversations start flowing. Not smoother, but truer. You start asking, did I connect? Did they feel me? Did I feel them? That's fluency. And now you know, every mistake is not a failure. It's a doorway. When English became a memory. You're lying on your bed that night, hotel window cracked open, the sounds of the foreign city humming in. You scroll through your photos, train stations, street signs, smiles, small conversations. But there's one image that stops you, a blurry one. A cafe table. Suddenly you remember the entire conversation, not word for word, but the feeling. You remember how she said take care and how you said you too, and how easy it felt, how real it was. It becomes a memory, not of an English class, not of a grammar rule, but of a life moment that just happened to be in English. And that changes everything. Because now, the language is no longer something you study. It's something you remember. It's part of your story. They're expanding, unfolding in English. A laugh on a train, a mistake at a market, a quiet dream. They become your language, your voice, your timeline. You whisper to yourself before sleep, "This is who I am now." And you smile. The silence that speaks English. You're at the airport, departure hall, another journey ahead. People around you are talking in multiple languages, some fast, some slow, some loud, some soft. You don't try to listen, you just do. And then it happens again. A stranger sits beside you, says nothing. You sit in silence together, waiting. Then she turns, says something casual. You reply naturally. And the conversation blooms, like a flower cracking through concrete. Quiet, unplanned, human. But halfway through, she pauses and says something you never expected. Your English sounds like you live in it. You freeze. Smile. That's the difference. You didn't learn English to impress. You let it become your second skin. And now, even in silence, it's there. In how you breathe, how you listen, how you exist in the space between words. You board the plane. The safety announcement starts. The same one you've heard 100 times before. But this time, you don't just understand it. You feel calm listening to it. Because you belong here now. In this sound, this rhythm, this silence, this story told in English.